So about 2 months since launch and many hours later, Returnal. What do I think about it? Let's do this. So I've spent many hours playing Returnal. Well, in all honesty, I've had many deaths during my time with Returnal. And to be completely honest with you guys, I don't think I've had this much fun losing at a game, ever. Frustratingly fantastic, if you will. Now, before we get into the game mechanics and stuff like that, let's cover the technical specs of the game as it stands today. So as it stands today, version 1.004.000 stands at 55.5 gigabytes. So in terms of visuals and performance, the game runs at 4K 60 with ray tracing. Now this is an upscaled 4K, and I think it natively outputs at 1080p and then upscales it to 4K. But regardless, the game looks absolutely fantastic, and I honestly can't tell that it is upscaled or not. There's no graphics or performance mode, so there's no 120Hz 4K mode, and I think that's a big miss by the developers, because for those of you out there that can do it, 120Hz in a game like this would have been phenomenal and truly beneficial to the game. So this leads me on to aesthetics, and my oh my, this game looks phenomenal. I know this, you know this, we all know this. Graphically, I don't think this game is going to win any awards, but things like the ray tracing, the draw distance, and the enemy fire all work and look spectacular. And something that truly adds so much to the game is the way that the soundtrack really paces itself so well to the action you experience on screen. And the 3D audio is truly phenomenal. I've said it so many times and I'm going to say it again. 3D audio is amazing. Just being able to hear where an enemy is in space has really changed the way I play games, and I think it adds so much to Returnal. So are there any accessibility features? Yeah, there's a few. Let's discuss them now. Yes, sure. Some of these features can be done at a system level, but having them also included in the games menu is a great feature. So first off, you can change the tension or turn off the adaptive triggers. Now this only seems to affect the left trigger, but that's okay because that's the one that has the most tension, and the right trigger is barely noticeable in comparison. You can also turn off the haptics and vibrations and alter the sensitivity of the sticks and whatnot. You can also change some gameplay mechanics like holding to sprint and stuff like that. Additionally, you can turn 3D audio off or turn down the built-in speaker on the controller. Now the one thing that impressed me the most about the accessibility features were the video options. They've got options for color blindness, and you can reduce the light bloom and various other aspects, like you can customize your HUD and the UI to suit your needs. I think talking about accessibility features in video games is really important. I feel like video games should be able to be played by most people, if not everyone. So let me know if you found this section helpful. Now, let's talk about controls. And right off the bat, this game controls beautifully. And so it should. For a game that requires you to move and react so quickly, it cannot control terribly. And thankfully, it honestly doesn't. This controls and reacts stupendously well. And with that being said, I'm not going to dwell on this section for too long. I mean, it controls as well as any first-person shooter should. The one thing I will say, and probably a lot of you have heard or read about it by now, is that the left trigger stops halfway for your primary fire, and then you can push through it to get your alternative fire. Now, when I first heard about this, I was a bit skeptical as to how it will handle, but honestly, it becomes second nature, and I think a lot of other video games, like the Call of Duties, the Battlefields, should try to implement something like this going forward. Oh yeah, and haptics. Well, you know me by now. I'm going to say it, they are phenomenal. truly, truly spectacular. Let's talk about the gameplay. First and foremost, is the game actually fun to play? Yeah, big yes. This game is so good. I don't think I've had this much fun in a game in a very, very long time. Now, normally I would talk about replayability in this section, but it is such a core and fundamental mechanic of the game. You try, you die. You try again, you die again, and then you just keep dying and dying and dying. And I know that this may sound quite depressing, but honestly, it just is so much fun. And it's something you really need to experience for yourself to understand why a game that's so hard and so relentless can be so much fun at the same time. So yeah, I mean, it's replayable, literally, by design. So now for you trophy hunters out there, according to quirks, it's about an 8.5 out of 10 in terms of how difficult it is to get a trophy. So if you guys are anything like me, it's going to take me a while to get this platinum, but more on getting platinums on a future video. Now let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good, and I think the most important, the game is fun. And it's really strange because the game is also so hard, but I honestly can't get enough of it. And so yeah, it is a really fun game. Now for the bad. Some people have said that they've experienced glitches and crashes whilst playing the game. I haven't had any of these, and that might be because I got my game about a week after and it had already been patched. Now for the ugly. Yeah, the game is frustratingly hard, but that's not the most frustrating thing about it. The most frustrating thing about it is even on this current version, 2 months after launch, there's still no real option to be able to save the game whilst you're doing a run. So let's say you're playing a level and you've been playing it for at least an hour, and some of these levels can go on for a couple, if not a few hours, and something comes up and you have to stop playing the game. Your only options are to put your console in rest mode or to turn off the game completely. Now, rest mode has its own issues in that if you do put the game in rest mode and there's an update and you've got automatic updates on, it will close the game and do the update. So you've essentially lost your save. Now, a lot of people out there are saying, well, that's just the type of game it is. Yeah, that might be true, but again, there should be some option of being able to save. But I do reckon one thing that this does highlight, and I think that it's the switcher feature on the PS5 was meant to be something akin to the quick resume on the Xbox. Now, I think that Sony tried to implement something like this, but couldn't get it to work perfectly and decided to scrap it. Hopefully this is something that they do and should really bring back, or try to implement rather. Now, I know that Housemarque are looking into implementing some form of save feature into the game, and I honestly don't know what will come first, a quick resume or a save feature for Returnal. But either way, it is something that this game needs, because making great progress on the level and then having something come up and having to lose all that progress is something that we shouldn't have to have as gamers. So, concluding thoughts. I think that this is truly one of the best games I have played in a while, and it's one of the truly first next-gen games we have gotten 6 months after launch. But all that being said, I do think that this is a game that not many people will get, but if you do get it like I did and took a chance on it, you won't regret it. So this probably leads us on to the big question. Should you buy or should you wait? Is the game actually worth £70 or dollars? No, I don't think any game should be worth £70 or $70. I think that it's a ridiculous price for any type of entertainment content. And for that reason, I think it's probably best that we wait and see whether or not games like Returnal end up being heavily discounted in the months to come. Additionally, I say this in comparison to a game like God of War. Now, if God of War is the big game, the one that shifts consoles, the one that every PlayStation owner gets a PlayStation to play, Returnal doesn't stack up to a game like God of War, and so it can't justify being priced the same as a game like God of War. And with all that being said, I personally don't regret purchasing the game day one, even though it came a week later than it should. But I do also think that a lot of people should wait and see whether or not the game does get discounted. Either way, I don't think you will regret your purchase, and like me, you're going to enjoy dying and dying and dying all over again for a small bit of progress each time. Please like, share, comment and subscribe, and let's continue building an amazing community together. I'll see you guys in the comments below.